welcome back. Today we are talking about something a little different, straying away from the paid media depths for just a moment. And we're gonna talk about something that ties very nicely into paid media and marketing in general, but is very important kind of as a precursor to any of that. And that is branding and brand strategy and how you can make sure that you are creating a brand that's going to leave impact on your potential customers and therefore maximize the results that you're going to see from any kind of marketing or promotional campaign. By the end of this video, you should have a good idea of how to set up your brand, lesser known, more overlooked components of putting together your brand, and ultimately how that can play into your overall marketing strategy. Let's jump into it. In case you slept through your marketing branding class in college, then don't worry, I've got you covered, okay? So when we talk about a brand, I think it's pretty common for people to just assume we're talking about like a logo and website and maybe some colors. But the reality is that the brand is sort of the foundation of this home that you're building. The brand should ultimately serve as kind of this structure or this blueprint that you're using to essentially make sure that you're communicating what it is that you do, why you do it, and who you do it for. So chances are that you have had experiences with brands that have been very memorable and impactful on you as a consumer. A couple examples of those may be Coca-Cola, Nike, Apple, some examples of brands that probably you know and recognize and that evoke some sort of emotion or response from you. I think we can look at those as kind of examples when we're thinking about how we can create our own brand that is going to have lasting impact. When it comes to what makes a successful brand, ultimately what it boils down to is being able to effectively communicate what it is that you do, why you do it, why people should care, and who you do it for. And the who you do it for is not so much needs to be blatantly communicated in your brand, but it needs to be determining all of those other components. So let's dive into this topic a little bit more and talk about step by step the things you should be considering when you are first creating your brand. So if you work in marketing or you're familiar with marketing, know your audience or understand your audience is probably something that has been ingrained in your brain for good reason, because really without having a good understanding of who your customers are and who is ultimately going to care about your brand or product, then you really are kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall. Like there's not really a great starting place. Step one, absolutely in every case of creating a brand, is understanding your audience. Who are they? What are their demographics? Where do they live? What do they do for fun? What makes them tick? What interests them? How do they talk amongst their friends? What are things that make them laugh or cry? Like these are all of the questions you should be able to answer about your audience and that you can essentially weave into your brand. The next step is to hone in on your purpose. Why is it that you do what you do? In the case of Tesla, like are you trying to reduce carbon emissions? Are you Tom's who's giving a pair of shoes for every pair of shoes that is bought? If you have anything that shows that you go beyond just the objective of generating a profit, that can be extremely impactful when you're trying to resonate with an audience. Do you have a mission or vision statement? Is it transparent to people what it is that you're trying to do? You should have at least one of these. Sometimes I feel like they get a little convoluted. They're pretty similar, so as long as you just have one, then we're in a great starting place. So let me give you some examples of some great mission statements. So Nordstrom, offering customers the very best service, selection, quality, and value. Microsoft's mission statement is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. Nike's is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. Shopify is to make commerce better for everyone. So these are examples that you can find, on these brands' website. They put it out there for the world to know because ultimately that is why they're doing what they're doing. Helps convey that purpose and that mission to the target audience and just helps really strengthen the overall brand. We understand who our audience is. We know who we're serving. We know why we're serving them. We know ultimately what we're hoping to accomplish. The latter is hopefully being communicated, somewhere on our website. So now you need to understand what sets you apart from competitors or others in your space. If you haven't already, then take a look at your competitors and see how they're positioning themselves with their brand messages. At this point, point, you should be able to know what makes you different from those competitors. As an example, if you're going after a different audience, or your product has a unique set of features that's going to appeal to a certain subset of people, that's a great way to kind of think about how you can set yourself up differently than your competitors will be. And ultimately that will fold into your overall brand. Now we can talk a little bit more about some of the more tangible components of a brand that probably come to mind when you think of branding. So your logo and your website and your colors. So these are gonna be more of like the visual components of your brand. When you're thinking about what these things should look like, you should be taking into consideration all of those questions that we just answered. As an example, if your target market is children, you may want to make your brand colors a little bit more playful. Whereas on the other hand, if you're a SaaS company that's going after really like sophisticated executives, you may want to focus on having a little bit more of a polished brand. In addition to your logos and your colors, you want to think about your brand personality. And this is something you probably want to do in tandem with coming up with the colors and the logo, because the personality will kind of influence what those end up looking like. But when we're talking about a brand personality, this is going to encompass your brand voice, your style, your tone, how messaging is conveyed. Is it funny? Is it serious? Is it conversational? Is it a little witty? How you communicate with your audience is going to be a huge component of ultimately your overall brand. If you've seen the Dollar Shave Club commercial, this is a great example of brand personality. Like, they were really trying to just resonate with that male, younger audience, and they did so by being funny. Nobody in that space really was doing that. So they had their target market in mind. They really wanted to differentiate themselves from their competitors, and that was a great example of how they did that. If you're going to have a brand tagline, which is not necessary, but it can be super impactful, like Nike's Just Do It, for example. If you are gonna have that, you wanna make sure you're sort of tying together all pieces of this branding topic. So you wanna make sure that you're considering your purpose, your audience, your personality, and really tying that together in a tagline that helps communicate all of those things to your user. Branding is also not really like a one-time thing. It's something you constantly want to be reassessing and kind of going back to the drawing board, figuring out, like everything in marketing, what's working and what's not working, and tweaking here and there. The important thing is that you're not making stark changes that are going to disrupt the familiarity you've built with existing customers up until that point. So how do you know when you have a successful brand? And I think, a lot of it will kind of lie in the data as well. Like, how many people are remembering your brand? If you do a brand lift study, how has your overall conversion rate changed? Have you noticed a change in your audience? At the end of the day, a successful brand is one that resonates with people. It creates a sense of familiarity. It almost feels like a friend to the person that ultimately you're trying to sell to. So now that you have an initial brand, it's time to build awareness around that, to get it in front of people, to get them to recognize it and associate with it. Here are some great ways that you can do that. For one, advertising, of course, is an awesome option, especially if you're brand new. Facebook ads, Instagram ads, YouTube ads, those are kind of top of funnel awareness ads where you can really focus on just getting that brand in front of people and creating that initial touch point. Additionally, you can do more organic things like content marketing, so blog posts, social media content, all again making sure that your brand is very prominent among these so that the people watching them really get a good sense of who you are, what you do, and why you do it. And if you didn't know and you are new here, we are Driftly. We are a performance paid media agency, so we can help you get those awareness campaigns running and also set up more of a full funnel approach so that not only building that brand awareness, but then ensuring that those people end up converting and actually purchasing your product. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about that, we do offer a completely free marketing plan. It's at no cost to you. You can access it on our website at driftly.com, and I will also make sure to link it down below. But be sure to request that if you're interested, and of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more marketing tips and tricks. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.